You're listening to She's the Business podcast.
Are you curious to know more about human design and understand your own human design more? Well, today's episode is diving into the essentials that you need to know about human design so that you can know yourself better. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm your host, Jessica Osborne, and in my 23 years of business and marketing, I've built many brands to become multi-billion-dollar companies. And just in the last 10 years, I've built 2 online businesses of my own from my dining room table with 2 little babies running around at my feet. I've made it my mission to inspire you to get out of your own way and become the successful business owner who's living the lifestyle you really desire without all the hustle. This is She's the Business podcast, made by women for women. This is your weekly dose of motivation and inspiration.
Now, I reached out to my special guest today, Samantha Riley, and asked her if she would like to come on the podcast and talk to us all about human design, because this is an area that I've been becoming increasingly interested in over the last 18 months to 2 years. And the more I know, the more I realize I don't know much at all, but it is just so fascinating. Some of the value that I've found in human design is just knowing myself better actually helps me be a better business owner, a better leader for my team, better at hiring, better at working with my clients as well, because as I know myself more, I also know them more. And Samantha is somebody who has a lot of experience in understanding human design and in teaching and coaching people using human design to find their unique way. She is a multi-passionate entrepreneur. She's been in business for over 28 years, has had a whole handful of different businesses, and she built her first 7-figure business before she was 30. So she's definitely somebody with a lot of experience to share. She's also a podcast host of the Influence by Design podcast. She's a mother, she's a wife, and she's a fellow Aussie. She actually lives quite close to me, we discovered here in Queensland. So I know you're going to absolutely love this episode as she shares some insights as to what are these 5 types in human design? What do they really mean? Because you might have heard a bit about them. Maybe you've been starting to investigate your human design as well. And she explains to us, really what is it that we need to know and why are these things about ourselves so interesting and useful and relevant to us as business owners. So I know that you're going to enjoy it as much as I enjoyed this amazing chat. Without further ado, let me play the interview for you. Okay, welcome. I'm here today with Samantha Riley, and wow, I have been looking forward to this conversation for a long time. Samantha is going to join us and talk a lot about human design, which is a really interesting topic that I know very, very little about, but I've been learning a little and want to know more and more. Welcome, Samantha.
Thanks for having me, Jessica. I'm excited to talk about this topic today.
Yes, amazing. Now, could you let us know, just to begin with, a bit about you, your business, what you do and who you serve?
Yeah, so I work with experts to help them to be known as the leader in their industry and to build their elegant empire. So what I mean by elegant empire is a business that fully funds our lifestyle as we want. But to me, elegance is simplicity. So we want to get rid of all the bells and whistles and just strip it right back and make it so it's easy, because we all go into business so that we can build something that's fun and easy and gives us this life that we want to live. And many entrepreneurs get caught down this rabbit hole of working, 80, 100 hours a week to have the lifestyle that they wanted, where they could have been doing that in corporate. Yeah. So, elegance to me is like stripping all of that back and making it nice and simple.
Yeah, we didn't leave the 9 to 5 to then suddenly be working at like 60, 70, 80-hour week. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Totally agree with that whole simplicity and elegance. And I think it's funny because you know that I come from that corporate background where we've probably got that experience or knowledge of what a business is. And that's, our first foray into it as an employee. We're in these sort of organizations and there's lots of processes and admin and all of this stuff. And when you start your own business, you potentially think you need a lot of these things, right? To be a proper business or to be operating. And I think it's so easy to get caught up in all the shoulds and all the things that you think something you might need before actually finding out what you do need, just by keeping it simple and applying and be like, what is the best way to do this? Or what would I need to serve this purpose? So not creating it until you need it, I think.
Totally. And I think what makes me a little bit different to many is that I left corporate at 20. Like, I saw the light super early. Like, I think I lasted a whole 18 months before I looked around the office and went, oh my goodness. I was working with everyone that was sort of the same age as my parents at that time. And I looked around and went, no one's smiling. And I felt like I was like looking into my future. So I leapt very early, and I've been in business for all of this time. But my very, very first job was actually McDonald's. So I thought that every business had these amazing systems and processes, and that's the way all businesses were. I didn't realize that McDonald's was the poster child for systems and processes. Yes. So elegance for me came very, very easily because that's all I knew. And when I realized, when we have this zone of genius and it comes so easily to us, sometimes we don't value it. And I was that person. And for many, many years, I didn't realize that I just could do things so easily and effortlessly and be able to see through all of the stuff that gets layered on top and just sort of pare it back. So now I help people to do that.
Love that. I worked at McDonald's as well, so there we go.
I love it. I actually really enjoyed that. That was my first job and I had lots of fun there.
Yeah, me too. What a journey. And you think about, yes, all those different businesses. I've worked in government, and I'd have to say there are a lot of processes there, but they are not efficient.
They are not. Well, that was the only time I worked corporate was government. So there you go. We've got a lot more in common than even I thought.
And I probably should have done the same as you and thought, wow, all these people who I'm working with, I always wanted to start my own business. And I don't know why it took me 20 odd years to actually do it properly without, I had a side hustle, and you know what happens with the side hustle. They stay a side hustle because you're not really invested in it. Anyway, we are where we are.
But congratulations, you made the leap, and welcome to the dark side.
It was potentially a lot harder because you've got a lot more to give up and lose by the time you get to the top. You're like, wow, I'm throwing all this away and starting from the beginning, but really you're not. When you think about it, we're bringing all of that with you, or the good bits. I like to leave behind the bits I don't like.
100%. Yeah, when you're coming in with all of that expertise and all of that knowledge, and exactly what you said, I see this so often, is that a lot of corporates that are starting business think, oh my God, I'm starting from the beginning, but don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You've got heaps of knowledge, heaps of expertise. There's only just a few things that you need to learn about business to put it all together.
Yes. And I think that's a lovely place for us to now talk about human design and what is it? So if someone's listening, they've never heard of it before, what is human design, and why is this something that is important for us to know as business owners?
Yeah. So we all have an energetic blueprint that is unique to us. It's like our fingerprint. And it's really, really important to understand the way that our energy works and interacts with the world, because this is how we're seen, how we show up, and how we, respond to different pieces of stimuli, I guess. And I started experimenting with human design back in, I think about 2018. I'd heard about it for years and years, but as you're going to find out today, it's a rabbit hole. And I kind of looked into it a few times and went, this makes no sense to me. But once I started to really understand it, then I realized how amazing it was. But essentially, it's a mixture of ancient wisdom and modern science. So it's based on things like astrology, the Kabbalah tree of life, the chakra system, quantum mechanics, and I have completely forgotten the fifth one, but it doesn't really matter. We all get the gist of what's going on there. Yes. And what we do is we input our date of birth, our time of birth, our place of birth, and we get this chart that pops out that shows us the way that we're designed to move through the world and how we're designed to interact with the world. And what I found for me is that once I started to learn about my chart, I felt like I had this permission slip to be the person that I always knew I wanted to be. But through conditioning and through beliefs and through all of these things that happen to us from the moment that we're born, as we, as we grow up and we take on these beliefs from our parents and the people around us and our teachers and, the things that we make up to be true because it happened in the schoolyard, or we start to cover up who we are meant to be. And human design is a process of stripping that all away and getting back to who we are and why we're here and what we're designed, what we're here to do, who we're here to be. So it's a really beautiful permission slip to show up as the person that we're meant to be.
Oh, I love that description, because I am someone who's come across human design. I've done my chart and I'll call it, I've scratched the surface. Like, I know the surface level stuff about me, which I found absolutely fascinating because, like you say, it is so accurate. And the weird thing is, you didn't do any kind of questionnaire or anything like that to find this out. This is actually based on, like you said, your time and date of birth and where you were born. It is uncannily exactly accurate.
Absolutely. And it's not woo-woo. It is based on science. And I have a lot of very logical men in my life that have come through corporate that, if they say, I've got, crystals on my desk and they roll their eyes and, got my little money plant and my, I have all of these little spiritual things around, got my tarot cards there as well. And they roll their eyes. As soon as I talk about human design and they started to hear it, they're like, oh my goodness, tell me more. Like, it is really life-changing for people to start to understand, who they're here to be. And I have never, ever had anyone go through this process that hasn't said exactly the same thing. And that's, this is the permission slip that I need to truly be who I'm here to be.
Yeah. Oh, there's so much in that. Now, I have a random side question for you because, of course, once I found mine and started to understand a bit about it, I was like, wow, this is so powerful. I'm really understanding myself, but I'm also understanding other people and how we're different. So I'm really keen in a moment just to get into what the 5 main types are, because I think that's sort of the great place to start. But my question is, because I profiled my kids and they were both born by cesarean, one of them an emergency one, the other one a planned one. Is it still accurate even 100%. If they're born by cesarean? Okay.
100%. Yep, it is still accurate. So there's no problems there, all still accurate. Now, there is one thing that we probably should preface in that if you're listening, you probably want to have a look at your chart as we're going through this so that this starts to make sense. So you can get a free copy of your chart at samanthariley.global/chart. And like I said, just put in that information and you'll get your free chart. It will look very strange. There's a funny looking person there. There's a whole heap of shapes and there's some numbers. But we're talking about the type to start with. And that's the very first line that you'll find on your chart. And as you have already mentioned, there's 5 different types. And this is like the top of the rabbit hole. Yes. So there's many different layers you can go into with human design, but at all times we always sort of go back to our type and our strategy and our authority, no matter how deep you go. If things aren't aligned, always head back there. So let's start off with the first type, and there's no particular order, but the first type is generators. And generators are here to create the life force on the planet by doing work that lights them up. So 37% of the population are here designed to do work that they love, and they just radiate this life force that lights everyone else up. And I'm a generator, and when I'm doing work I love, it just seems like people are attracted to me. So the way that our type is sort of how it looks, I guess you could say, is it's the shape of our aura. So generators have quite an open aura. It's quite an, it has people attracted to it. So I mentioned sort of a strategy before. Each type has their own strategy. So this is how we respond to, the world around us. And generators are designed to respond. So we're designed to respond to synchronicity or little signs or little clues that come out from the universe. And they're dropping in just sort of all day, every day. They're not big neon signs that drop down that say, hey, Sam, this is what you should be doing. And I'll give you an example of this. Last year, it was June last year, I have no idea how this happened, but I had this like really weird idea. I'd like to move to Noosa. Now, just to put this into context, I'd never been to Noosa. I don't know anyone that lives in Noosa. I have no idea where this came from. And my husband came home and I went, I just had this really weird thought today. I'm just going to run it past you. I think I'd like to move to Noosa. He's like, okay, this is a little odd. I was coming home to tell you that I've got a potential job opportunity that's come up on the Sunshine Coast. Okay, that's really weird. The next day I go to the gym. One of the only reasons that I'd thought of, I don't want to move because I've got two very close friends on the Northern Beaches. The very next day I go to my personal training session and my trainer says, I've got some really bad news to share with you, Sam. I'm like, oh no, what's happened? She's like, I'm moving to Noosa. No way. So I'm getting all these little cues. Wow. Cut a long story short, my other friend also moved to Noosa within a month. Now we're all here. And, it was just all these little signs and synchronicities all fell in. Now, when this happens, it doesn't mean that it has to happen. We're still able to choose whether we take that or not, but it's about really responding to all of these cues that are happening around us. So yes. We're here to work. We're energetic beings, and we're here to do work that lights us up. If you're a generator and you're doing work that you don't like, this could feel like you're depressed. It could feel like you've got zero energy. Things won't happen. Like life will always be a grind. So we're able to use how we feel to really pull us on track.
That's interesting. So like when people are describing it as the soul-sucking work, or, I'm working with a client, but, it's just a drag and I don't really want to do it, then that's a sign that they're probably not doing the type of work that they are truly designed for. They're not.
100%. Well, it might not necessarily be the work. It might be that it's the wrong client for them. It might be that they're working in their business in the wrong way. Like for me, my chart, and every chart's slightly different, as we mentioned. For me, my chart is very much that I'm the visionary and that I'm the person that's meant to come up with the ideas and delegate them as fast as possible. So I have now built out quite a large team so I can do that. But many years ago, when I was starting my business and I was the only one and I was in the weeds, it felt like I was constantly fighting, with myself. It was challenging to bring in clients. Now I'm working in my design. It's a lot easier. So it's not necessarily the business. It could be, a myriad of different things, but it's always a cue that something's just a little bit off.
Awesome. I love that.
So let's jump into the manifesting generator. So I believe you're a manifesting generator.
Yeah.
So manifesting generators are the multi-passionates. They're here to do many, many different things in their life. So when we go into business, we're often told, focus on one thing. This is true for many of us, and it is not true for manifesting generators. So if you're a manifesting generator, this is your permission slip that you don't have to do what the gurus are telling you. You don't have to focus on one thing. You are designed to do many, many different things. Your strategy is also to respond just like the generator, but because you're a hybrid of a manifestor and a generator, there are, some different ways around this. You are able to take on some of the manifestor ways of doing things as well. But you're definitely here to do lots and lots of different things.
Okay. Well, that makes me feel good that I'm not just crazily off creating lots of new things all of the time. And I've really got to rein myself in and stop sometimes, because it feels natural to do that, but it also can then feel too much. And, coming back to having an elegant, simple and calm business, I'm really conscious of putting my energy in the places where it feels good to put them, and not having too many pots on the boil, because then I just feel scattered
and I love
crazy.
that you said that, because you're actually, even though you're designed to have all of these different things on the go, you're not designed to do them yourself. So you need to have other people helping you. You are manifesting generators are generally moving at the speed of light. Some of the challenges that my manifesting generator clients have is no one else can keep up with me. I feel like everyone else is slow. I get frustrated, that my team can't keep up. So be really aware of these things, but also be very aware that you're not designed to do everything yourself, that you do need other people. And the elegance part, I love that you mentioned that as well, because that's where you have to really use this as an experiment to try and figure out how it works for you. One of my manifesting generator clients that first comes to mind, she's a speaker and she's got lots of different areas that she speaks on, and she works with corporates, but also with coaches, and she's got lots of different programs. What happened before we really helped her to get control of that was she was very scattered and couldn't kind of make any of them work. And other people had told her just focus on one. But what we did instead was had a look at, well, why isn't it working? Well, it was because, there was no follow through to finish things. As soon as there was that follow through to finish things, all of the different programs all came together and worked beautifully. And she started to get opportunities that were just falling in her lap. Human design isn't something that you learn. It's something that you experiment with, and you try it on for size and start to build a bank of evidence for what works for you, and then follow that.
Yeah, I love that concept as well, because, I've kind of scaled my business back a little bit this year, because we're going to go in a caravan around Australia for 8 months in December. And I was like, I just don't want to be having too many things that I feel I need to deliver to that level and everything. So I'm just simplifying down. But I think it was, what came through for me when you were saying that was having these different pieces, but that there's alignment and flow between them so that they're working. And that was sort of how, when I designed my business, I was like, well, I can work at these, I'm pretty much helping people with the same thing, but just in different ways and at different levels. And so maybe the one-to-one, more of me. And with Business Jam, my main program, they get a lot of it as the online program. And then there's, they can do a bit of a group coaching stream if they want to then have more of me. But there's all of the depths, and yes, there's different pieces. And then, I started more of a mastermind group that was looking more at scaling, but it was all connected and it all flowed. So it felt, even though they were separate, they did feel aligned and synchronous as well.
Yeah, I love that.
Was good.
Yeah,
but,
totally.
You're so funny, because you're saying to me, I need that, person to come through and deliver. And that has literally been the story of my life. And I think since I found out about manifesting generators and realized a bit, turned the mirror on myself and was reflecting on it, I thought, that has always been me. I'd be the one of like, I can see how we're going to do this. And right, we need a plan. Here's what we're going to do. I might have even, got out the Excel spreadsheet and made a plan. And then I press close. I never open it again.
Yep.
100% me. And I'd just be like, what's wrong with me? And it was like the last thing I wanted to do was open that spreadsheet up and look at it again. Because for me, it was just done. It's finished. I've created it. And luckily I was managing teams most of the time. So I would pass it over to somebody, be like, here you go, you manage it. But yes.
The speed of light that you guys work at is quite incredible.
It just feels so, now I was like, oh, that makes sense. Now there wasn't something wrong with me that I didn't want to open up the spreadsheet and manage it or implement. I was already on to the next thing.
Totally.
It was so insightful. So it's amazing that you can learn this and think all these things that we might have thought there was something wrong, or,
or felt ashamed about, or felt frustrated about. Yeah, it's just who we are. Which is actually a beautiful segue into manifestors, because manifestors are 9% of the population, and they're here to be the trailblazers. They're here to inspire others into taking action. They're here to initiate that action and inspire others to take action. Now, the manifestors' strategy is to initiate and to inform, which means that they need to, if they come up with an idea and they're going to do it, they then need to tell others they're doing it and do it. Now, this is the biggest thing for manifestors, and I love it that you mentioned that you looked up your children's human design, because it's so powerful to know your children's human design. I have worked with a few parents to help them to understand, how to help their children blossom. And one of the things with manifested children is that we're often telling them, they might ask permission, or we're training them to ask permission to do something, and we're telling them, no, you can't do that. And this is training them to keep things to themselves, to be hiding things, to not inform, to not share. And this is not the way manifestor is designed to be. So, and this is one of the biggest things that I've seen from manifestor adults, is that they've stopped telling people what they're going to do, because as children, they were told, no, you can't do that. So they hid things so that, there's a lot of shame or frustration. But energetically, that holds them back. For a manifestor to shine, they do need to say, hey, this is what we're doing. Follow me if you feel like it's right for you. They're just designed to get out there and do their thing. So they really are here to do things in a big way. They're here designed to create movements. People are really drawn to their big energy, but they need to also tell people what they're doing. They're also designed to initiate with a lot of speed. Like manifesting generators move at speed, manifestors are designed to initiate at speed. So if an idea drops in, go for it and tell people what you're doing. They want to join your movement.
That's amazing, isn't it? And it's so powerful, I think, that whole telling people what you're doing. And I'm not sure if this is the manifesting part of my manifesting generator, but whenever, I guess my husband and I, we're very similar. We're both manifesting generators, but we're going to move back to London. We're just we're quitting our jobs. We're just moving across the world. And once we decided we do it, we say it, and then we do it. It happens.
Yep.
It's not just something that floats around forever. But once we've said it, then it's happening. And that was the same with this trip around Australia. We were like, we're going to do it. And we've talked about it for many years, but we've never actually set the intention of it's going to happen. Whereas this year we went, okay, it's time. We're going to do it. And then it's just been falling into place, and it's all going to happen. So
yeah, totally. Yeah. We had, when I say we, I'm talking about me and my husband, we had interstate guests staying with us last year. And one of the people that was in the house was a manifestor, and the other people were different types. And it was really fascinating. Once I knew he was a manifestor, if we were all in the kitchen having a chat and anyone walked off, we never thought anything of it. When the manifestor walked off, every single one of us would be like, what's up with him? Why'd he just leave? Okay, because it's this energy thing. Or if he just decided he was going for a walk, he'd walk out the door, and I would notice that we would all go, is he angry? Who's he annoyed at? And when I brought it up with him, he's like, I was just going for a walk. Like, there was nothing wrong. I was just going for a walk. And we actually experimented with this, where he would actually go, I'm just going for a walk. Now we'd go, okay, no worries, see ya. And it just made it so much easier. But we've specifically noticed it with the manifestor, that he had to inform us what he was doing, because energetically it felt weird if he didn't, but it didn't with anyone else that was in the house. So it is really important for manifestors to tell people what you're doing. As business owners, this is super easy in marketing, right? Because we're taught, we have to tell people, hey, we're doing this launch and we want you to do this thing and to go here. For manifestors, this is perfectly in your wheelhouse. This is what you're designed to do. So, as a manifestor in your marketing, just be telling people, this is what I'm doing and this is what I want you to do. Inform them and tell them, and allow them to just come on board if it feels right.
Yeah. And just know that by sharing that and by telling them what you're doing and why and who it's for, that the people will follow you. You don't have to do something to make them, they will actually be energetically drawn to follow you. And
they either will or they won't.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that's the thing, that's what we have to remember, is that we're going to attract the right people and even more importantly, repel the people that aren't right for us.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. You can't have one without the other.
Exactly. So the next type is a projector, and a projector is 20% of the population. And projectors are here as the guides. They're here to show us a more simple way. They're here to see what we can't. Now, projectors are a energy type. So they get their energy from the generators and the manifesting generators. They're energized by having people ask for their guidance, and they're energized by living life in a way that is fun for them. And that's how they get their energy. They're not designed to work sort of a 9 to 5, or as we were joking before, like an 8 to 8. They're not designed to work for those long amounts of hours. They're designed to work in smaller spurts. They can get burnt out. This doesn't mean that there's many projectors out there that can't get through a normal day. Obviously they can. But if a projector, feels drained, then going and doing the things that they love during their day will help a lot. And it's also doing the things they love that will draw other people to them. Their strategy is to wait for the invitation, to be invited. So whereas we had the manifestors saying they have to inform and tell people what they're doing, with the projector, they need to be invited into situations, which means that energetically, if they ask for something, there can be this feeling that it's a little bit weird. And I'll give you an example. One of my projector clients, he's an awesome coach. Obviously, he's a guide. He's got really, deep understanding in what he does. And one of the strategies that we're working on was for him to get onto more podcasts to share his zone of genius. And he asked a couple of people, and he's just like, no, I just can't get it to happen. And I'm like, you're a projector. You're meant to be invited. So what he did was and to be invited, you have to show up. You have to be very visible to get the invitation. So he started sharing more on social media. He did a lot of stories every day. Hey, I'm going surfing, doing this thing. I just was on a podcast and we talked about this thing. And he just was sharing. And within a week, he got 4 podcast interviews with people reaching out saying, hey, love that thing you talked about. Would you like to be on my podcast? So energetically, there was an alignment because he was waiting for that invitation. So that can be one of the challenges for projectors when they're sort of just starting out, because they don't understand that. But in a business perspective, if you're a projector, show up so that you can get those invitations.
Oh, wow. That's really interesting. And so, it's blowing my mind just thinking about that. It's such a good story. How does that differ to like what generators or manifestors or manifesting generators, like, would it be different in how they show up on their?
Look, I work with experts and help them to build their authority and their profile. I think that we should all be showing up, because if we're not showing up, we're not being seen. But as a generator, I don't necessarily need to wait for the invitation. I might see a queue. Actually, I can give you an example. I was on a networking event a couple of weeks ago, and someone said, I've got this podcast that talks about this, this, and this. That was that cue that I needed to respond and say, hey, I can speak to your audience about XYZ. Would you like to do that? So I was able to reach out because I was responding, where a projector would probably just talk about something and that host would need to invite him.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
And then we've got our 5th type. So our 5th type is a reflector, and this is only 1% of the population. So they're the rarest type. They're also a non-energy type. And reflectors are here to do exactly that. They're here to reflect back to us what's happening in the world around us. They're there to reflect our energy back and our satisfaction with the world back to us. So they're like these mirrors that reflect back. Their strategy is to wait a lunar cycle. So their strategy is to wait around 28 days to make big decisions or to consider big opportunities. So when I think about marketing, for example, we're taught that we need to have scarcity and we need to have urgency. Just thinking that a reflector needs 28 days to process something big, if we try and push a reflector to make a decision, there could be either they will really push back, or they might say yes, and then they may regret it. They may have buyer's remorse. So understanding, and you alluded to this at the beginning of the conversation, it's not just about understanding ourselves, it's about understanding the people that are around us so that we're not, I guess, not that we can force anyone, but we're not putting sort of forceful energy onto people to do something that's not right for them. When we're able to help people to be aligned with themselves, everything just falls into place.
Yeah, that's it. And I think being more aware of how other people are receiving things and how they're feeling means that we can fit better with them. We can be more aligned to what we need to be. That's really interesting. I wonder are there any clues that you would find, or are there any, if we look at entrepreneurs, for example, do you find that there's a higher proportion of a certain type in the entrepreneurial space than others?
No, this is a question I get all the time, and it's not like a personality test where certain personalities are more inclined to do certain things. It's not like that at all. Any type, any person with any strategy authority can pretty much do anything, but it's more the way they do things. So, if we were going to go into something, I talked about the chakra system, for example. There's 9 chakras in the human design chakras in our body graph. If they've got a defined head and a defined ajna, which is sort of the two centers that sit in the head, they possibly may be more inclined to be in work where it's more analytical, for example. But even then, it's still not a hard and fast rule. If we look at the throat center, if that's defined, you'll often find that a lot of speakers have defined throat. But as opposed to what I've heard a lot of people say, if your throat's undefined, you can't speak. That's a load of BS. You absolutely can, but it's just understanding the way that you interact. So there's no specific type that is prone to be in a certain area.
It's so interesting. One of the things that stood out to me when I was reading into a little bit of my chart, and literally, as Sam was saying, there's so many layers to human design. I think, we can't try to learn it, the whole thing at once. So I'm on layer 2 or 3 at the moment, which is...
I'm about 25 million. I don't think I'm ever going to learn this thing. There's always so much coming out.
The one that was fascinating me was the environment that you you thrive in or feel comfortable in. And this has been something that I've always found weird, because I'm on the Myers-Briggs profile, I'm an ENFP. So, extroverted, very people person. But I've always felt like I'm not super extroverted. I'm not that person that walks in and is in front of everybody. That's not me, but I'm definitely someone who loves people, and, I love having a good chat. And when I did human design, and my environment is caves, which I thought, this is now making a bit of sense, because it's it said you like social situations that you have some control over.
Yep.
And who who you're going to be around. So you're kind of comfortable, you feel like you're in control there. And I thought, yes, because as much as I like people, I don't particularly like going to a networking event where don't know who's going to be there, don't know anybody. I'm not the person who'll walk in and network the room. I'll walk in and stand there, and hopefully someone comes up and we strike up a conversation that's deep and meaningful about something really interesting this. And not just the weather today, or where do you live? Because I'm boring, and I leave.
Yeah. What's really interesting about a caves environment is if you were running an event and you booked an event space that was very open and it had a lot of different doors. So, some of those conference rooms where there's lots of different doors down the side, that would have you feeling quite anxious, as opposed to a room where it might just have one door that's in and out. You'd feel more comfortable in there. So this is, another reason that we want to understand this stuff, so that we're able to show up in the best way. My husband grew up on a farm, and he always thought he wanted acreage and to sort of be away from people. His environment is actually markets. He's designed to be working in cafes, and he needs all the noise and he needs all the things. But because he grew up on a farm, he thought that's what he wanted, until we went, well, let's experiment with this. And we did a lot of working from cafes and from being in busy places, and we realized, Yep, no, this is definitely the place for me. So,
Wow.
it's really, really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think one of my children is Valleys, and
Uh-huh. Yeah, I'm a Valleys.
you Valleys.
I'm
Tell
a
us what does
Valleys.
Valley, what does the
Yeah,
Valley mean?
in the valley, when think about this like from a nature perspective, when you're in the valley and you can hear things in the distance, like you might be able to hear kids playing in the school ground in the distance, or the birds in a distance, that's when we feel our best. And as soon as that was explained to me, like if I'm somewhere where I can hear things in a distance, that to me is so relaxing and just I feel really at peace. So yeah, that's a valleys person.
Amazing. So like the
Yeah.
white noise or
Yeah,
something going on in
that's
the
exactly
background.
right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And I love working in places where I can hear things in a distance. So if I'm in a cafe and it's very, very loud, I find it difficult to work. My husband can work in there, no worries at all. But if I'm in a cafe where it's a little bit quieter, but I can hear maybe people out on the beach outside, perfect.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting.
That is so interesting. Yeah. And it just makes you think as well, what could you do? How could you use this information to really help design your business so that it's helping you thrive and be in the right place? Can you think of any other examples of something that you could apply or learn from your human design that would really help you in shaping the business, even maybe the type of services that you offer or the environment that you're going to put yourself in?
Well, let me explain what some of the things are that I work with my clients, and there's absolutely no way we can go through this today, but I just want to open people's mind to what you can see in your chart. So I explained that in your chart you see a body graph, which is a very strange picture with different shapes on it, but there's two lines down either side of that chart that's got a whole heap of numbers, and all of those numbers relate to where planets or the sun and the moon were at our time of birth, and also 88 days before birth. So we've got a conscious side and an unconscious side. When we start diving into these, we can start to have a look at things like, how are we designed to make money? What is our zone of genius? So we're only working in that so that we can delegate the other things. There's not a rule with we all delegate the same things. We're all meant to delegate different things. What's our work design? Who's our ideal client? What's our ideal client's secret desire? Like, we can find this really cool information out. And the first time I experimented with this, I picked up, seriously, so many clients off one email. It was incredible just by knowing their secret desire, and I could speak straight to that. I knew who I was designed to work with. We can find out things like what our purpose is, so we can really make sure that our business is aligned with who we're here to be and what we're here to do. So all of this is in there. The type is the beginning, but if that's something that you do want to look into, then that information is all there in your chart.
I just love it. I think that there's so much there, so much to learn, and it's fascinating to go dive into little pieces. I'm kind of one bit at a time is what I can manage.
Yeah, and I think that
it and actually
what's really important, and I think it's the thing that I want to leave people with, is human design isn't something that you learn. Human design is something that you unlearn. Human design is something that you experiment with and actually try. It's not something that you learn on a piece of paper, because otherwise we don't understand. And it's not a set of rules. I think I get on my high horse on my little soapbox about this a lot, because I feel that there's a lot of people that are teaching human design and saying, you're this type, this is the way you have to be. And human design is not that. We're not taking away conditioning and then putting a whole heap of beliefs back in. It's not about that at all. It's about stripping it all back and then experimenting and working out what is right for you. And then to do that, it's about building a bank of evidence and then moving forward with that.
Yeah. And I think, something that was coming up for me as you were talking was it's becoming aware of things, and it's maybe just these clues in your human design chart that then you can start to become aware of how you're feeling and how you're responding to things happening in your life, or, what is feeling good and why. And maybe coming up with some answers that help you have more clarity on that, which is so helpful, isn't it? Because then you can feel more like, well, this is okay because this is just who I am, and I give myself permission to be me.
Yeah,
not
I
to be
definitely
someone else.
recommend experimenting, and I definitely recommend keeping a journal so that you can build that bank of evidence of, I tried this and it did work. Because when we're trying new things, it's very easy to revert back to the old way. So it's great to have that bank of evidence to go, actually, it did work that way. Let's try that again and, turn that into a new habit, which was the original habit that we had, that we were designed to have.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. Well, that has been just so insightful. And thank you so much for sharing all of that information about human design with us. I think anyone listening who hasn't even started having a look at that yet, then there's a whole new world awaiting where you might learn some great things about yourself, or not learn, but become aware of some amazing things about really your unique makeup, because there's so much in this that it's not something I think we could take it all in at once. Anyway, it's definitely an evolution of time, isn't it?
Totally. And if you've been listening and you want to know a little bit more about your type, I do have a free guide that goes into this a little bit more, into the types, and start to learn about what you're designed to do to shine, your diamond factor, and what you really want to get rid of. And you can get a copy of that's the Human Design Advantage, and you can get a copy of that at samanthariley.global/advantage. To get a copy of the Human Design Advantage. And that will just go a little bit deeper into what we've spoken about today.
Oh, that sounds incredible. Thank you so much for sharing it. I'll make sure that the links for the chart and for the Human Design Advantage are in the show notes, and so you can dive in there and find them. But thank you. Is there anything final that you'd love to leave us with to wrap up the conversation on human design that you think would be
really I think we're, like I have mentioned, we are designed to, we are here for a reason. We are here at this time, at this point in time, to do a certain thing, to be a certain person. And when you can really tap into who that is, life is more in alignment and life is more in flow. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy. I think a lot of people get confused that flow means easy, but it will feel so different. And once you get into alignment, the abundance that starts coming into your life is just incredible. We're designed to be abundant beings. So to get into alignment, you'll start to see a lot of amazing things happen in your business and your life.
Yeah, I love that. We're very aligned in how we think, because alignment is just so important in business. Yeah. Yes, it does all just work better. I think when there is alignment there, it stops feeling hard. It stops feeling like bashing your head against a wall.
That's exactly. Oh yeah, wading through drying cement.
That's so true. Well, thank you so much, Samantha. This has been a really great conversation. And if someone wants to connect with you on social media or anywhere like that, where is your favorite platform to?
My favorite platform is Facebook. I've got a Facebook group called Coaches, Thought Leaders and Change Makers. Hunt that up on Facebook, and I'd love to, and reach out and say hi. I really do like to chat. I'd love to meet you.
Yes, amazing. Oh, thank you. We will do that, and I'll pop your group in the notes as well. So
thanks, Jessica. It's been amazing.
Thank you. If you're not easily attracting the sort of clients that really excite you, and you're tired of needing to hunt for clients online, you're done with relying on those inconsistent referrals to scrape by month to month, or you're sick of wasting money on ads that don't work, then you're going to absolutely love the free training that I have put together specifically for you. It is called 5 Keys to Clients on Tap. And you'll spend just an hour with me in this free online training and walk away with my proven formula to magnetically attract a consistent stream of high value clients without wasting your energy on the latest social media trend or sending cold DMs. You're going to be able to figure out how to hit your profit goals within the time and hours that you want to work so that you've got more guilt-free family time, free time or me time, whatever it is for you. Head to jessicaosborne.com/TMF to register now for this training. That's jessicaosborne.com/TMF, which stands for The Magnetic Formula. And I'm going to share it with you. See you there.